Alright guys, it is happening. The new Golden Dawn Yuno and the new Golden Dawn Langris are dropping in Black Clover Mobile, and today we are going to be talking about whether or not you guys should be summoning on this banner. So first off, I want to point out in PvP, even in JP and KR right now, Yuno is still an S tier character. However, when it comes to PvE, he is a C tier character. So take that into account when doing your summons. He is a general pool unit. You will be able to get him later. And I'm going to start off this video by saying I would personally, if I was a free-to-play player, probably skip on this banner because we do have Season 4 coming next, as well as Black Osta, which are very, very cool banners. But of course, take that with a grain of salt because these characters themselves are not to be overlooked. They're actually pretty dang good and they do some really interesting stuff. So this Yuno is a debuffer. He is a power debuffer though, okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at his skills. His skill 1 is called Sylph's Gentle Breeze. If an enemy is afflicted with silence or total silence, there is a 50% chance to grant Self a 20% increased mobility buff when using skill 1. That is pretty nice to get mobility just off of attacking. I think that's really nice, and the fact that you can get silence or total silence with other characters on your team, it doesn't necessarily have to be Yuno. That means if you build like a team that does silences or total silences, you could potentially give yourself mobility a lot, okay, making Yuno have even more turns, which is really, really cool. And then for skill 2, it is called a Swift White Blow, and what this is going to do is it's going to fire a bunch of arrows in an AoE attack, and it has a 30% chance to inflict silence on an enemy for 2 turns, okay? And then you can increase that silence chance as you upgrade the skill to 50%, which is really, really nice. And then on the special skill is called White Sphere, and this is a sphere that he throws at the enemy, dealing damage. It is a single target attack. It inflicts total silence on an enemy for 2 turns, which is really nice. It inflicts taunt on the enemy for 1 turn, which is kind of weird for a debuffer to taunt, but it's okay, it's on 1 enemy, and then inflicts a 20% reduced mobility debuff on the enemy, which is really, really good. And you can increase the amount of reduced mobility as you upgrade this skill, so that is actually really good as well. And the difference between silence and total silence, from my understanding, is silence you can use only skill 1, and for total silence I believe is you can only use skill 1, and regular silence, from my understanding, is it just stops you from using skill 2. Okay, I don't know why this says for silence you cannot use any skills except for skill 1. I believe that's wrong. I could be wrong. Let me know in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Silence just stops you from using skill 2. Total silence lets you only use skill 1. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then you have the combined attack right here. Inflicts total silence on an enemy for 1 turn, which is pretty nice. Okay, that is a single target attack though, so keep that in mind. But the ability to do a total silence here, you can do a total silence here, you can do a silence here, you can do a lot of really good stuff with Yuno as a debuffer. Plus he reduces mobility here, and he has the potential to reduce mobility up here. Okay, so all really, really good stuff. And then his passive is even better. Upon attacking an enemy afflicted with silence or total silence, grants Self a SP plus 2 buff, meaning after you have silenced the enemies with your ultimate and then you go and use skill 1 or skill 2 and you attack an enemy who is silenced, you will get your special back that much quicker, which is really good. And then for the unique passive, if all allies have the power attribute, grants Self a 20% increased mobility buff, which is really nice. That means he's going to have high mobility at the start of a battle, making him really good for PvP. That in particular is really good, okay? But that is his unique passive, so keep that in mind. Overall, I think Yuno is going to be a really good character and really, really cool. As for Yuno's skill card here, let's talk about that. It is the Power to Destroy, and this is actually a skill card I think that is worth pulling. And if you are going to pull it though, you want to fully dupe this skill card out. So this is more of a skill card for whales, I'll warn you now, but like it's really, really good. Okay, so upon attacking an enemy afflicted with silence or total silence, there is a 10% chance at level 1 or a 100% chance when fully enhanced to grant Self a SP plus 1 or plus 3 buff. Imagine a guaranteed plus 3 SP buff on whichever character you want, because you can equip this skill card to any character you want as long as they are silenced or total silenced. That is insanely good and will work like really well on Season 3 Charlotte, okay, as well, who does the silence when she is on an all blue team. Okay, so that's really, really good, not just for Yuno, but in general, that's insanely good. Okay, so if you are a whale and you want to pull to try to get like multiple copies of something on this banner, I would recommend this skill card. This skill card is really, really good. In addition to that, on his skill 2, it's going to give you the additional effect of inflicting a SP -1 debuff on the enemy, meaning you're going to reduce the enemy's special points, meaning if you go first, because he has higher mobility on an all red team, right, you will be able to stop one of the enemies from doing their special attack, which is pretty nice. So that's a very nice bonus that you can add on with his skill 2. And that is Yuno. I personally would pull for the skill card more than I would for the character, but he is pretty decent. And now let's talk about Langris. Langris is currently S in PvE on JP and KR and A on PvP, so he has held up to the test of time. He is still a very good general pull unit, and I think out of the two characters, he is the one more worth pulling for, and he's got a really interesting kit that is actually pretty decent. So his first skill is called Space Magic Bullets. It has a 50% chance to grant a SP +1 buff. That means he is going to get his special back even faster, which is kind of like his whole kit. On his skill 2, it is a self-enhancement where he's going to sacrifice 2 of a designated ally's SP, so you get to choose the allies to sacrifice their SP, and you give yourself an SP +2 buff, giving him his special move back even faster, and then a 45% chance to inflict 20% reduced healing received to the designated ally. So that's actually not great, but as you upgrade this skill, you can reduce how much of a chance you have to inflict that by 8% each time, making it not quite so bad, okay? And then grant self an increased speed level 3 buff for 2 turns, which is pretty good. Increased speed is always really good, especially in PvP. And then for his special skill, the big thing that the whole kit like aims to get you with Langris, it inflicts block HP recovery on an enemy for 2 turns, guaranteed. That is insane, right? That right there in and of itself makes him really good. This is an AoE, by the way. Grants all allies a 20% increased favor damage dealt buff for 2 turns. Also insane. Inflicts a reduced HP recovery, level 3 debuff on an enemy for 2 turns, and then grants debuff immunity to self for 2 turns. So his special skill is just freaking built, right? It's insanely good. So that's kind of what you're working towards with his kit. And then on top of that, his combined attack, which you hopefully won't be using too much, but it attacks after removing an enemy's barrier. So he also has barrier removal, which is really nice as well. So, and down here you can see what block HP recovery, increased favor damage, and all that stuff does. Pause the video if you need an explanation of that stuff. And then as for his passive, at the start of a turn, grants a SP +2 buff, just guaranteed. That's ridiculous, right? That's so much SP coming back. So you get SP +2 from here, you get SP +2 from here, you get an SP +1 from here, potentially 50% chance, right? So you're getting your special back so quickly. And then for the unique passive, when HP is below 30%, he has immortality for 1 turn, okay, which is also really good. Langris, just a really good character. Now let's talk about his skill card. His skill card is called Level-Headed Noble, and what it does, upon attacking an enemy afflicted with HP recovery immunity, attacks after granting a 20 to 40% increased favor damage dealt buff, does not activate when the partnered mage performs a combined attack, okay, so that's still pretty good amount of damage right there, and 20% at level 1, it's probably worth getting at least 1 copy of this card to put on Langris because it's pretty dang good. And then the additional effect you get of equipping this card here is not like, it wouldn't seem like a whole lot, but when you take into account how his kit works, instead of getting an SP +2 buff now, you are actually getting an SP +3 buff, which makes a big difference in the long term of how many specials you get up and how many times you're able to pull off your special move, especially when it comes to PvP. Okay, so I would recommend just 1 copy of this skill card if you are going to pull for, you know, a copy of everything. You only need 1 copy of this skill card. I would go for like a full duped out copy of Yuno's skill card. And then in terms of characters, who should you pull for out of the 2? I would be aiming for Langris. If you get him, kind of get out of the banner, and you can get Yuno at a later date. But that's just my opinion. Overall though, my general opinion of this banner is that you guys should be skipping on this banner if you are free to play because of what comes next. If you're a whale or a dolphin, you know, of course, do what you want, and I myself will be summoning on this banner. So if you guys did enjoy this video, please consider going down there, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and peace.